Okay, it says we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tarot Brunch at the Roundtable. And so today with me here are, of course, Carla from Carla's Astrology. And we have two guests today, and that's April from Tarot and Witchery, and Orshi from Dragorshi's Tarot. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, and I just see that we're on YouTube. Awesome. And Crystal Ravenrose is already here. Hello. Thanks for joining us. So today's topic is the fives in the tarot. So we're going to talk about the Hierophant, Temperance, and all the fives in the minors. So just quickly around the room, what do the fives in general, or the number five, mean to you, Carla?
First of all, I'm on my phone, so if my eyes are going this way, it's because I'm looking at you ladies. So now I'm looking at the camera, just so you know. Okay, so you guys. Anyway, so I'm cross. Anyway, so the fives. I love the fives, not because I don't see the difficulty, but because I have had a lot of five moments lately, and I feel like they are a turning point. They're lessons, and I feel like if I listen and I observe the lesson, well, then I am better for it. So to me, I am appreciative.
How about you, Orshi?
Well, I'm the one who hates the five. Okay, that's too much. But yeah, so we were talking about, birth cards and whatever. And when I learned that one of the cards is the Hierophant, which I interpret the fives and the Hierophant as learning with difficulties, learning through difficulties. Looking back at my life, that made sense because I'm one of those stubborn SOBs who learn very difficultly. So life usually just hammers lessons down on me. So yeah, I do appreciate that it's happening for me, and not to me, or how's the big sentence that we always say. But I'm kind of, sometimes I just get, tired of, okay, but can I just learn a bit easier? Like, do I have to really learn it always the difficult way? But yeah, looks like in this life, I have to.
How about you, April?
I see the fives as bridge cards in the minor arcana. So they are the bridge point. You have 1 through 4, which is the lower or earthly lessons. And then 5 is the bridge card that brings us up into the spiritual lessons as we go through 6 through 9. So I love them. I also see them as cards of tension. So it's like looking at this. Can we see that? Okay. Here we see, you have perfect tension, points of perfect tension, 5 points. And then the circle is like the oneness of life, or God, or the monad, or whatever you want to look at, or even the Fool, like contained within the Fool is this perfect tension. And so these are choice point cards where we get to grow by making a choice to move over from our lower self to our higher self.
Wow.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, for me, the Hierophant is also my birth card. So, and for the longest time, I really had difficulties with that because we normally, we know this picture, and me not growing up with any kind of church-related things, and having been told about the bad experiences that my grandma had with church when she was a kid. So for me, it was like, church, no, stay away. I don't want this. And then it's my birth card, and I'm like, ugh. So, and the same thing when I have a reading and fives are coming up, and it's like, oh, again, do I have to? And so for me, the fives are, yes, I know there's a teachable moment and everything in there, but do I have to? Like, yeah. And so, but after a while, now I have come to terms with the Hierophant, and I actually like that card, especially if in a deck he's called the High Priest and not the Hierophant. I like that name much better. And so, yeah, for me, the 5 is usually about some kind of struggle and like stuff has to happen, from chaos, then comes order. And yeah, sometimes it's but this seems so unfair moment. Right? Because I've been doing so much work. Like, do I really have to again? So, okay, I see a few people come in. Lisa Stevens is here. Hi, and Gerald.
Hi, Gerald.
Oh,
Hello. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so I quickly wanted to go into the Tree of Life, really quick and explain where we are. So, wait, this one. The red one on this side here, that is the 5, and that is Gebora, which also is named, or it's severity. Sometimes I found that it's can also be referred to as justice and fear. And so the natural order of the universe depends on the concept of opposites and balance, which we can also find in the Temperance. So the 5 takes the mercy and the structure of the 4, everything that we talked about in the last episode, and breaks it down to apply discipline in the force of a purging fire. So the image that resonated with me was like, when you forge a sword, you have to stick it in the fire, you have to hammer down on it to get this beautiful sword that you can then work with. And that's where we are in the 5s. And so, yeah, the universe wants to know what we're made of. So for me, the 5s are this, what are you going to do about it moment? So really, like, what comes next, So let's talk about the Hierophant. Let me get the cards. Okay, of course, we know this one. That's the typical Hierophant from the RWS that we're all familiar with. So, Orshi, would you like to tell us what you associate with the Hierophant?
yes. So I'm like, like you, I didn't grow up religious. My mom had some very weird and not so pleasant experiences with the local priest. So I grew up hearing about that, but I was never discouraged from joining. So if I, I would have decided to go down the churchy way, I could have. But early on, I was like, you're not accepting of everyone. And I think everyone is equal. You're not doing that. We're not cool. So I was, like, there's no such thing as higher power. There's no such thing as nothing. And then came the universe and I was like, are you sure? Let us teach you a lesson. And so, I don't have that negative association with the card as a lot of people do. How I read it as a teacher or as a structured place that you can join to learn from. So I kind of decided to read it as a really positive card because I think that the original meaning was meant to be like that. I don't think that it was supposed to just be like, hey, here's an oppressive card for you, do something with it. It was more about just like this card, the Majestic Earth, which is a university or a place of study where you can find yourself, where you can find people. I don't want to, the cards don't want me to be big. So I really like this card. It's the Hierophant domain, and I like that it's not just the Hierophant, it's the Hierophant's domain, because it's a place where you can learn. So should I show you the other cards that I picked?
Yes, please.
Okay. And the other one is the Oakish and Thorn, because this is the one that's most close to the regular meaning. But I kind of like the wise owl that that can be a symbol for a teacher. And we have the key, key to knowledge and everything like that. But the other 3 cards that I have is the spiritual teacher, pretty much, or the Mermaid Tarot has a beautiful Hierophant who's a librarian. someone who's responsible for keeping a record of what happened, because I also associate history with this card. And in an optimistic way, or when we're looking at things in a more light-hearted, not light-hearted, I can't find the word that I want to say, but we're learning from mistakes, we're learning from history, past mistakes, which doesn't seem to happen right now, but maybe, hopefully. I kind of like that, she's keeping a record, because it's very important to not just look at history that, oh, it happened, let's just close the door and forget about it. We need to learn from it. So I really like that aspect. And I kind of love this Hierophant from the Dungeons and Dragons, because she looks like she's connected to a higher power. So her teachers, she can be a teacher for regular folks like us, but she's also a student for or student of something higher. And I just love that layered meaning, that you can also be a teacher. When this card comes up, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the student. You can be a teacher as well. You just have to know who you are. And the last one is the Neo Moon, who is a neo shaman kind of figure, which I really love. So you can always find your teachers. And when usually in readings, when this card comes up, for me it's usually you either need to find someone that you need to learn something from, or someone is in your life that is trying to teach you something, and you need to be open to learn that lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually how I read it.
Yeah. Interesting. So why don't we go with you next, April? What do you think about the Hierophant?
So yeah, I love this. Some of you may know that I was a teacher for years. I love teaching. I absolutely adore it. I love being in the classroom. I was going to say not so much from kindergarten to second grade, but give me kids that can sit in their seats, especially high schoolers. I love. So, and the first thing I do at the beginning of the year when I would teach is to say, I want everybody to know that I don't know it all, and that I'm here to learn from you. And this is a reciprocal time that we're going to have in the classroom. So here on this Hierophant, which is from the Cosmic Visions,
I love that.
Isn't that awesome? You see,
Yeah.
this is my favorite Hierophant card. So you see at the top there, kind of like the monad, or the one, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, creation, whatever it is for you. And then you see the rays coming down, and they actually go into the shaman's head, which is the teacher, but they also go directly down to the student. And so this is not a stagnant card. This is a card about how it's about cups that continuously flow into each other. And so I love this aspect, because I feel like this is the heightened awareness of what it means to have a teacher here, and to know that at some time, at some points in our development right now, some of us are down here, and in other points of our development, we're here. And at other points, we're actually experiencing the oneness, at this time. So I really love that. And then this is the Tarot of Transformations, which is very different. This was my June deck, one of my June decks. And it says, taking the Hierophant off the pedestal. So the idea behind this deck is it brings you into a place of understanding the actualization of the card. And so it levels the playing field, and you see all these different teachers here kind of existing at different levels on, I guess, the different psycho-spiritual planes, emotional, physical, spiritual. And so, I love the idea. Sorry, guys, I had wheat yesterday, so I'm really froggy. But I just love how this shows that, again, it's an equal exchange. And that when we understand that the Hierophant shows up in order to, show us our own personal power, and show us the ability to choose to learn, to choose to teach, to give, and to listen, to receive, there's just, it's all of those tension points. It's all of the elements within us being activated. And when we have all 5 elements activated within us, it's a lot. it feels like a lot. It's very overwhelming. And, but you can, calm down and bring it to where you can enjoy it. Can anybody see this? It's so hard to see this back. This is the Shadowscapes, and I love this one. It's the tree. I have such a thing for trees. And I just love this idea of the ancient teacher, that solid oak that we can come to that, for me, doesn't judge. Now, I did grow up going to a Unitarian church, which does not, it doesn't talk about Jesus as Savior. So it's a very different sort of view. So I had this idea that God was available and we were in, and I went to a school that did this. So it was just a much more ecumenical, less judgmental. So when I see this card, I feel like I am empowered. Here in this one, you see him alone with himself. You don't see any sycophants like you do in the Rider-Waite. It isn't about hierarchy to me. It is about coming into personal power of our choice, understanding that we can channel the divine, and we can learn from the people around us through humility, and therefore raise our consciousness.
Very interesting. I saw Megan come in. Hello, thanks for joining us.
Sorry, just before we move on, which was the first deck? The rainbowy?
The cosmic visions.
Okay,
I
just
want
making
that.
notes. Just Google it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I love the way that you see that, because I was actually thinking about this before I went to bed last night about the fives. And because I am still learning tarot, and this series helps me immensely, it's almost like I see the minor arcana unfold every day, and I feel like I've gone from ace, 2, 3, and definitely fives recently. So I feel like that's the physical, the physical part of being taught that lesson. And this is from the Wizard Tarot, Barbara Moore. I don't know if you can see that real good, but so I feel like this card represents that physical teacher, but like you were describing, April, I feel like also my subconscious and is like receiving my guides. And this is from the hidden tarot realm. So I almost feel like he could be a guide, he is just that wise old, fella in the community that everybody goes to. And then I also have the Hierophant from the Thoth Tarot. And now for me, that is just like what you were showing in your first and last cards, where it's like you have your physical lesson, and then your subconscious is trying to take it all in, and then your oversoul has planned all this already, so it's like the higher octave of it in the major arcana that says, okay, this isn't for nothing. This is the beautiful part of it. This is, this is going to define you. So pay attention, So anyway, that's what I got.
Okay, awesome. So something like this in the Los Scarabeo Tarot, that was like
lovely.
Hierophant that I did not want to see, that was causing problems. He even has black eyes. I don't know if you can really see that. So that was like the church dude that I didn't want to have anything to do with. But there was a deck that made me absolutely fall in love with that, and that is from the Arcus Arcanum, and here he's called the High Priest. And what I like is that, this way, like he's a perfect couple with the High Priestess. And for me, like if you have the emperor and the empress in between, to me they are the spiritual advisors to the emperor and empress. And I really love this coupling. Like this is my favorite Hierophant card, or High Priest. And that took me away from this whole like church-like thinking. But to like go back into like starting point. So the High Priest or Hierophant originally was called, or in the Golden Dawn, they labeled him the Magus or Magus of the eternal gods. And so the way that we see him now with the students, that hasn't always been there. That's something that we got in the Rider-Waite Smith deck. This is another Golden Dawn tarot, and here he's also just sitting by himself. But since the Hierophant is associated with Taurus, here we have the representation in the bulls on his chair or throne, however you want to call it, just like the Emperor has that with the rams for Aries. And in another version here, come on, focus. Here, I don't know if you can really see it, but here he also has these bull heads on his throne. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, and another one that's really churchy, that's in the Ludi Lescott, and here he looks kind of terrifying. So I don't know if I want to study with this guy because he seems a bit angry. I don't know if I really want to go there, but yeah. So yeah, he's associated with Taurus, and the Hierophant, from what I read, is the link between the higher self and the spiritual self, and so his lessons are not supposed to be understood through intellect, but it has to be felt and perceived. So yeah, we have to go through this stuff
Experience, yes.
To really know what it feels like. It can't just be like on your card, Carla, where you had like the blackboard and everything, so teaching, but we have to make those, like we have to have those experiences for ourselves to really understand them. And that's what I like about the Hierophant, that it's not just teaching, taking notes, going home, like we actually live this. And another card that I really like, this is from the Ananda Tarot, and here is very faintly, there's a face up here. And then here's a book, and it has the Alpha and Omega and a rose in there. And yeah, this is like a very, very gentle card, but also like there's the knowledge in there and the whole teaching. One that's a bit more confronting is in the Housewives, not the Housewives, the Haunted House Tarot. So here we get this almost exorcism kind of style, but I don't mind it so much. I can still find something because we don't actually know what this person who's looking at the priest is actually going through, if there is something that needs to be dealt with. So it's always a matter of perspective, I guess, in some cases. And this is from the Pagan Tarot, and here we have like a book burning kind of thing. So the Hierophant is here, and he's watching this whole scene unfold. And down here, this is like the Pagan Tarot follows a woman through the entire deck, and she has a necklace with a pentagram, and she's hiding it to make sure that no one sees it. She doesn't yet know what to do with this whole situation. There's people throwing stuff in the fire, others are just watching. So, and we have the church here in the background. So yeah, the question is, what do I do with that? Like, this is a situation now that I'm thrown in, but I'm hiding a part of myself. Like, do I tell them it's wrong? Do I join them? What do I do? You know? And so, yeah, for me, the Hierophant, I associate that with following rules and tradition and things like that. But I also like this depiction, like God is in the TV in the Housewives Tarot. So yeah, like, do we believe everything that we are told, or should we question our teachers as well? And the Hierophant for me is also the marriage card.
Oh yeah,
And
I
so
forgot to say
in
that.
the Gay
Yeah.
Tarot, this one he's just called the priest here. But yeah, so when I see the Hierophant, depending on the other surrounding cards, especially in a love reading, that would be the direction that I go in. So that was what I have.
Cool.
Yeah, there. Okay, so let's talk about the Temperance. And let me just get my cards. Okay, and let's see if I can do this. April, I would like to start with you.
All right. So, again, we don't want to discount or forget that we're looking at fives, right? And so we're looking at the lower octave in the Hierophant, and then we move up into the Temperance card. And I love how these two tarots kind of go the same route with it. Here we have the Feralt in the Druidcraft, and then over here, gosh, I'm sorry, this is so shiny. We have the She. So again, and I love this. Carly, you might appreciate this. In the background here, we have the Rainbow Bridge. And so I feel like when we get to this point in the tarot, we are integrating ourselves. We are coming into a place where it talks about right here, where we are learning to integrate polarities. And we're learning to do that through small increments, making small changes to our trajectory. We've grown into a place of wisdom to where what we've gained with the Hierophant down here, where things were a little bit radical, a little bit intense. We really had to make a hard choice. Usually at this point, this is really a choice point. Here, it's about adjusting a recipe in our energy field. It's about making very conscious choices to, again, like if you have a flat line and we make just a very small, incremental change, the trajectory of that ray is going to be huge in the long run. And so understanding that by integrating polarities and understanding that how we face tension in our life without being reactive, but becoming responsive, brings us into the higher octave of our mind. And I just love this one. I had to put this one in here, which is the Playful Heart Tarot, because again, it has that rainbow, how we have, everything we need at our disposal at this point. And we have only to pick and choose what we want to do with those energies in order to make that perfect elixir of life that is going to, nourish us or heal us or whatever it is that we're needing. And a lot of times this is associated with healing. So for me, when I see this in a reading, I know that people are at a point where they really need to center themselves on their personal power and understand that it's time to not be reactive and realize what they have and really go deep into what they've anchored in their body, anchored into their consciousness as true wisdom, and then use that powerfully to create something in their outer world that reflects, the way that they've balanced themselves, like in their chakras and within their own polarities in their life. That's all I got.
Okay.
So I'm up.
So
Hi, Micah. So I kind of read the Temperance differently. I usually don't connect the card to the Hierophant, even though I can, because it comes after death, and death brings destruction. It's transformation. It's not. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a hard thing. And how I read the Temperance is a slow quality change. So you're done with the transformation part, and now you know where you want to go, or which way your life is transforming into, and we're slowly starting to go down that road. It's how I was taught, and I really like that analogy or example, is how a river changes its bed. It's not gonna be from one day to the next. It's a slow change. It's slowly finding its new path, but it's gonna bring it's gonna bring the water and the water of life into a different part of the area that is flowing through. And I really like that, because I'm always happy to see the temperance, because it signals for me that if I, want to connect it back to the 5, the Hierophant, is that you chose to learn that lesson and you're going through the motions. It was hard. It was a hard lesson, but your life is transforming or changing into a better one, or the one that you chose because you chose to do the work. You chose to go down that hard and difficult road, because the 5 is not an easy, like, oh, let's go down and have some ice cream. No, it's going to be shoveling, and it's going to be people attacking you. It's gonna be hard, but in the end, once you go through that transformation of that, you step out of that place, you step into the balancing out aspect of things. And I only have 2 cards, which one of them is a fun one, but one of my favorite Hierophant temperance is the True Black Tarot's beautiful angel, because
Beautiful.
I don't know how much you can see, but she kind of has that yin and yang. I don't know how you say that in the here as well, and in her hands.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have some flowers growing here, and then some swords over there. Like peace and war, and balancing things out. And I think just her hair is beautiful. Just to the side note, she's beautiful. And the other one is the mystical medleys, because sometimes you need to find a balance between the hardship and the fun stuff. Sometimes you just need a few drinks and just have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the 2 that I have.
Okay.
All right. So temperance is for me, that is the balancing. And again, this is the Wizard Tarot. I'm kind of limited in the decks that I pick. So these I thought are more, this is my, my in your face kind of tarot deck, that I have a dragon, a red fire dragon, who is my, one of my guides. And I am positive of that. So anyway, so this deck speaks to me and says, okay, this is real. This is some shit you need to take care of. So this is my basic oh gosh, like my physical self. Okay, so and temperance is like trying to rein everything in and making sense of it, balancing. And I'm not even going to show you the hidden tarot. I want to go straight to what Thoth is. His is art. So, which is, it's different as far as the card itself is more about like combining instead of balancing. So if I look at the progression from 5, which is also the throat chakra, and then you move to temperance, which is the solar plexus, then if you're not in balance, then it's like you could like implode or something. It's like how it feels. That energy just becomes, too much. That's exactly where you need to balance it out. And the lessons or whatever, everything that you've taken in from your physical journey to the spiritual journey, and then then you're gonna balance it out. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. All right. So, well, okay. First of all, so this is the typical temperance card that we know, and it is depicted like that in quite a few decks that I have here. So let's go back. So these are like some Golden Dawn depictions that we have, and something that I find interesting is in some cards, the angel has 2 wings, and some it's just 1. So that's very interesting. Just or in this one here, there's a white and a black wing. So also like there's the yin yang sign on the dress here. So the opposing energies that come together and that want to be harmonized. And so something that they all have in common, like there's this halo here behind the woman or angel, and usually there's something on the chest that's either some have a yellow square, some have the yin yang. I also have like here it's the star, here it's a triangle, but this is like the son of Tiferet from what I read. And then we usually also see the volcano in the back. Here it looks a little bit different, but there's that volcano, so that erupting energy. And then, of course, there's 1 foot on land, 1 in the water. And so yeah, we have this contrast in nature even in this card. And for me, there's always this like there's a bit of a temptation implied to choose one or the other, because that might be a little more to our taste, but it's really the lesson in how we balance those things out in us. And one thing that I read about the Temperance card, which is also called the Daughter of Reconcilers, that it is on the Tree of Life, path 25, and that's the one between 6 and 9 here. And that one is actually called the Dark Night of the Soul path. So this is where we go from the lower self to the higher self. So this is like a kind of trial by fire, if you will. And there's this constant exchange of positive and negative energies, even in our body. And I think the important lesson is to learn that all things should be taken in moderation. So with this, like the Temperance card for me is also something that speaks about alcoholism, just like the 3 of Cups can go that way also, or like alchemy, mixing things together. And when it comes to mixing things together, here in the Housewife's Tarot and in the Gay Tarot, we have the cooking element. So yeah, taking different things and putting them together, creating something new. But of course, the recipe has to be balanced. You can't use too much of something or else it's just not going to work. It's not going to taste good. And for those of us who live a spiritual life in the modern world, here in the Pagan Tarot, like she's sitting in an office, and we have the big pentacle here on the wall. There is a goddess statue, and so she's also like with her fingers, she's tracing the infinity sign. So that talks about how do we integrate our spiritual life into our mundane world, and do we have to choose between that? Can we combine both? Do people have to know about it? Can we keep it a secret? All these kinds of things. And I thought that is a very like real life approach that applies to me as well, because the people at work, they don't know that I do tarot. I don't tell them. So I'm keeping that part of myself hidden, even though I would really like to tell them, but something's holding me back. So that's something I have to take into consideration for the future. Okay, let's move on to the
before we move on, does anybody know about the alchemical element of this card? Because I know that Temperance is the alchemical card, because it's combining elements and whatnot in the original one, but I'm not knowledgeable on the subject, so I'm just curious. Anybody knows anything? Because I know that it's there's the alchemical symbols and whatnot in the original one, but
no, like there are a lot of symbols on this one, but I can't really
I think it would be more about the entire process of alchemy rather than like one phase, like coagulation, or I think
Yeah, I think so.
it would be more about the whole process, but I'm not entirely certain of that. Anybody in the chat know? Micah, Gerald, Lisa, anyone?
I don't see the chat.
Megan?
Someone must know.
Okay, so we'll take note of that and maybe research that later on. Okay, so the next one that I would like to talk about is the Five of Swords. So let's do that. No, I wanted to do this. So Carla, would you like to start with that one?
Yeah, so with my in your face, this one is like you feel like you're defeated. I can't, that's not blurry. Yeah, a little bit shiny. Sorry about that. Yeah. But this one is walking away maybe from the bullshit. Or it could also be like they're not communicating, Then in the hidden tarot, the hidden realm tarot, this one is, oh my goodness, very dark. It's like it almost seems like she's battling her own demons, maybe, even though they're, it's a physical thing. She's definitely under some major stress. So, and they're behind her back, so it's kind of maybe something that she's dealing with. Maybe not everything's seen. And then in the Thoth Tarot, this one just represents being defeated. So, I mean, it's like you're at a point where it's like, I just don't know what to do. What do I do? That's where we have to rely on, the higher self, heading to the Hierophant. So that's what I got. I only picked like 3 decks, but that's what I got.
The one in the Hidden Realms reminds me of a shield maiden from the Vikings, like especially with crows.
Yeah, definitely.
I love this deck.
That deck is like
deck.
shadow work, I mean, it's like, oh yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know how, like we didn't talk about how we read the Five of Swords, but I read it as a selfish energy. And most of the time it's you being selfish and doing something that you shouldn't. But sometimes when, in readings, sometimes it's a need of being selfish. But I kind of picked the cards that represents the, you're taking away from others to shine. This is the true Black Tarot, and I think it's a brilliant representation of how I read the Five of Swords, because it's I don't care what like how detrimental it is for others. I'm just gonna do it because I need it, I want it. And I don't necessarily read the Five of Swords as knowingly being selfish and doing something that will hurt other. It's more about that young energy when you're you haven't learned yet that your actions can have that negative effect on other people, because you're just thinking about yourself, because you're too young to realize that other people's emotions and life matters too. And I'm not saying that all the people learn this, or I perfected it and I never done it, because when I was sick, just an example, when I was sick, I had to be very, very selfish, because I was really sick. And if I didn't, if I wasn't guarding my energy and everything in my life and putting myself in the center, that would have been a very, how to say it, PC way. But it would have had a lot of really hard consequences on my life. So I had to be like, yes, I know that this sucks for you, but I need to be, mindful about myself in the first place. So maybe because I learned that lesson, I can more easily read this card in this way, or that's why it fits to me. But sometimes when you're selfish and you want things for yourself, you're actually breaking that thing in the process, because you're not allowing someone else to have it fully. So you're breaking that vase that was once a whole beautiful thing, but both of you are like, no, I want it, no, I want it, and I'm not letting you have it because I'm selfish, I want it for myself. You're destroying that in the process. And the mystical medleys show, again, like picking on other people when you're bigger. So it can be a bully card. There's a lot of people who experience bullies, not just being bullied, but unknowingly being the bully, because people don't often realize that what they do will have such a huge impact on other people's life when they grow up. And I love this, like, really, do you have to take away swords from people who are so much smaller than you? You don't need that. You're already big and strong, and you already have your power. You don't need to take away their swords too. And the last one is from the Smoke, Ash, and Embers, because dragons.
I
Is
love it.
how when you're concentrating on hoarding things and keeping them for yourself, and all you do is just guarding those, you can miss out on experiences with other people, because they don't have to carry these swords, so they fly away and you're stuck here with all the swords that you can't carry. So that's how I read this Five of Swords.
Yeah. Actually, because Zach came in. Hi, Zach. And there's also Jezebel and Tony here. Hello. So about the alchemy question, I don't know if that helps a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
And then also Lisa said, in the Light Seers, it states temperance is the alchemist of life, and it calls you to create your purposeful blend using moderation and patience as ingredients.
Oh, yes. Forgot to say patience. That's why I'm like, that card always shows up to me. For me, with the Hierophant, is like, patience, girl. And I'm like, but I don't want to. One of the biggest, it's going to be on my tombstone, is the impatient as my middle name. I'm learning just slowly, like slowly.
Well, that's why we have an entire life to do this.
Yeah, isn't it fun?
Yay!
I want an easier one for next time.
Yeah.
So to me, this is the potential to cut your nose off to spite your face sort of card. You can get into really just, winning at all costs. When this comes up, I will ask a client, do you feel forced into a corner in some way? Are you feeling pushed as though you need to push back hard? And again, I feel like the fives are really about transcending ego. They're about moving into that spiritual phase. And so at this point, it's like our our ego flares up. Our ego wants things to be the way it's always been. And our mind really starts racing because it's swords, our mind really starts talking us into a corner a lot of times. And this can be a card where, you start justifying your position. And, whenever we are in a place where we have to justify ourselves, we've already lost. We're not living from our power. We're living from our lack. We're living from a story that was given to us or that we've carried our whole life. And so I feel like whenever this card comes up for people, they're really at a choice point where it's time to grow beyond the story that their ego is wanting to keep them in. And it's very hard because you can feel so right, so justified in what you want or what you need. And it's really about expanding beyond that so that we can, again, like you were saying, Orshi, about seeing other people. It's time to grow up. It just isn't all about you. Now, that's not to say there aren't times that people need to put up boundaries, because I'm totally into that. But, this just, to me, it's, again, the fives are this invitation to choose to move up to the higher level. We're going to move on to the 6, which is about solar light at that point. And we want to move into that place. Also, I wanted to mention here is that, the fives, this is a prime number. And whenever we're at the prime, whenever we're in prime numbers in the minor arcana, we're really at a place where, again, there's that contrast. We're experiencing real contrast that creates a clear picture of who we are and who we aren't. The sad thing is when you don't realize, like Orshi was saying, that you're the jerk, you know, and we've all done that. I mean, I look back on my life and I just cringe. Oh my God, do I cringe? I can't believe, that I couldn't see what a jerk I was in that situation and how I thought I was so right. And I was just coming from a place where I was so justified. And yet I wish I could have chose to be more. So this is always, again, a chance to be more powerful by laying down your sword and moving away from the ego. And I know I'm always off in a different direction than most people, but that's
fantastic. I mean, I love hearing that because, that's how we learn from each other.
Yeah. Zach also said, I'm reading the introduction to Kim Krantz Alchemy deck. I recommend it.
Anita Kelly Fitzgerald, walkthrough of that deck because she's going to make me really want to buy that deck first. But, you can learn so much. And so I'm waiting for her because she's probably going to get that. Because the idea sounds really cool and unique. So, yeah. But, hashtag purchase responsibly and, all the usual Gerald hashtags.
Yeah.
Know your limits.
And Tony just said, yes, Orshi, not about you.
It's not about me? What? Other people is in the
So here's the traditional RWS card, and something that I remember reading in the the Robin Wood guidebook. Each card has like a catchphrase, and the one for this one is na 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 na.
I love that.
So yeah, that one stuck. I will never forget that. Like whenever I see the Five of Swords, that will always come to my head first. So that's sentiment. And so Five of Swords. So going back to the Golden Dawn, it is called the Lord of Defeat, and we now have Venus in Aquarius. And here in this, in the 4, we saw the 2 Hour Swords that are here. They crossed. And the flower, the rose, was complete in the middle. And now we have an additional sword coming up in between, breaking that up. The rose is once again falling to pieces. So, the perfect structure of the order is being disrupted. And we now have this... like for me, what I see in the Five of Swords is like loss, and there's maybe a little bit of spite and malice. So the motives behind all that might be a bit questionable. A very extreme version of that is in the Initiatory Golden Dawn. So here it's like really like you're down. Like the person here is really defeated. It doesn't get any more defeated than that. And the person doing it is like, yeah, I'm going to show you who's boss. So people can take that to the very extreme. And we can also, depending on perspective, like here in the Lo Scarabeo, depending on, if you have been the jerk, then people might walk away from you. And so winning comes at a cost. It's not just, I won and now I'm on top of the game. Like some people may choose to be like, well, you won, good for you. I'm going to do me, you do you.
Yep.
Yeah, play alone now. Yeah.
Yeah. Or when it comes to like betrayal in something, someone might always be sharpening their knives. And, this is also a card that tells me, watch your back. Not everyone might have the best intentions, and some people might just wait for one small mistake for you to mess up, and then they're right there to rub it in your face. And so, yeah. Or in this one, in the Gay Tarot, here we have the sports tournament. So are you a sore loser? Are you a good winner? which are you, and how do you deal with winning and defeat? Like, the tables will always turn. Not everyone will always win. Not everyone will always lose. So how do you deal with that situation? Because they're, especially losing a few times back to back, might give us that feeling of insecurity and questioning ourselves. Oh my God, am I even good enough? Can I do this? Like, why am I losing? But then there's also, you can have a sense of teamwork, like here in the Pagan Tarot. We see that 2 swords are on the ground. So whoever they were facing, they lost or they gave up. They're each still holding their swords, and they have a little bit of energy around them. And what I like is there's this last sword here. It's held by him, but she is holding his hand. So they're doing this together. So joined forces can make things easier, and you don't always have to do things by yourself. You can ask for help, and yeah, it's also about like accepting limitations, which might be difficult at times when we think, oh, I can do this, and then we find out, no, we can't, because something was missing. Maybe we didn't study everything we could for the exam. Maybe we left out a few pages and thought, well, they might not be asking about that, and then the question comes exactly about that. That's what happened to me. Or yeah, like when it comes to bullying, being the bully, being the victim, but do we also fall into victimhood? Like, how much of that victim mentality do we actually take on ourselves? And do we have to swallow our pride, or is that sometimes a good thing to just, you know, like, okay, let's just be done with this, move on, and you know, but that's that. Next time we'll do it better. So that's what I have on the swords, and I would like to move on to the wands now. Let's see. Oh, it's, Tony says, I win even if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. Okay. And of course, yeah, know your limits. Purchase responsibly.
Exactly.
Okay, so the wands. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be quite quick at this one. I only have 2 cards, and how I usually read this card is, it's the competition card for me. It's waving sticks, not knowing who you're, hitting with your, the cat fight. You're like, pretty much. And I love the Majestic Earth because there's an actual tournament. I don't know how much you can see, but why I like this one is. Are you putting up this show of a fight for other people's entertainment, or you're actually trying to achieve something for you? Because sometimes we get into situations where we're like, oh, I'm gonna join that fight, I'm gonna join that group because the popular opinion is with them, and then you're not doing it because you actually believe they are right. You're just kind of like going where the popularity takes you. So sometimes I read that card. I'm not often, but sometimes it happens. But my favorite one is that most of the time you just don't know who's with whom. There are, you don't know if you're looking at the situation from the outside. You see people fighting, because sometimes in readings for me it happened that the fighting or argument wasn't including the person who was asking about it, or who was asking for a reading. It was about someone as like parents fight. And sometimes it's very hard for you to not join in and pick a side, but to stay out of it because it's not yours. And I don't have I should have picked someone might have the Druid Crafts 5 of Wands with the chicken, because it shows 5 children, practicing with sticks, and the chicken is being like, I don't care, I'm not bothered, I'm just like, I'm gonna just peck at the food in the corner, and I'm just gonna be like, let you all fight, and I'm gonna stay out of it. Because most of the time when this card shows up, especially in work related questions, it's about office drama, it's about people fighting in the office, and the advice is you should take a step back and stay out of it, because it's not an actual fight that it matters. It's usually just petty arguments, and it's gonna blow over. It's not that serious. But if you take a side, and it's not a side that you land on because you believe in it, you can things can get backfire in the long run. That's all.
So Tony says 5 of Wands often feels more like overcoming obstacles, the Krypton factor for those enough to know the series.
Krypton?
As in Superman Krypton?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I haven't watched the Krypton show.
I watched Lois and Clark,
Yeah, I watched that one, but I don't know. Okay.
We're not just old, we're European, There's a distinction.
All right. So, I think this is the easiest of all of the 5s. Let's just start with me saying that, because personally, I feel like there's a playful energy to the 5 of Wands. Again, going back to that perfect tension. Is this the one you were talking about?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. So going back to that, as soon as you said it, I was like trying to pull it out. Going back to that tension, like it's not that serious. Like we're sparring, we're learning, we're trying out new things. I think this is the easiest of all of the 5s in the minor arcana. In this one here in the Everyday Witch, let's see if I can get it without a glare, or somewhat. They're so busy like talking about how they're going to do it that their cauldron is bubbling over. And I think this really talks about the choice point in this. Are we going to get over needing to figure out how to do it? Are we going to be able to collaborate? Am I going to be able to move away from suppositions or ideas of how things are going to be and actually make a choice on moving forward and putting some action into it, especially since the Wands are so action oriented? If not, it's going to get bad. They're going to burn down the house. Look, her robe is on fire even, and she doesn't even know it. In this one, it's much more collaborative in this way. When I feel like when we're in the 5s, they can feel so incredibly intense, again, because there is that tension, like I was talking about with the pentacle. There's like even tension that comes in. But it's not that serious. The lessons that we learn in the 5 are really going to help us when we get up into those higher numbers, when you get to the 9 of Swords, this is nothing compared to the 9 of Swords. And so I think it's very important to recognize, especially, and I like this one because it's that playful energy, that it's not so serious. It's about learning to play with life. It's about learning to let go of, because all of the 5s are also about control and how we recognize control in our life and our need to control and how we move beyond what the ego wants so that we can be more than we were. So getting a little bit more playful. And so whenever this comes up for a client, I'm like, are you willing to try to do it differently? Are you willing to play around with life? Are you, making it a little bit less, can you make it a little bit less serious in how you create in life and what that means? And again, what that means for you to be creative. Because this is about creative energy, to me, creative energy is expansive. And so it's not my way or the highway. It's the creative project expands and comes out of who we are and is something that's very fluid and to me a joy. Like it's a joy to create from I don't know, I guess I'm not really articulating myself very well, but I feel like when I sit down to create, I have a vague idea of what I'm doing, and then I let all of the art pieces that are on the table come together in the way that they need to. And so I feel like this really talks about our need to be flexible and honor a creative process within ourselves so that we can let the energy take us to a new way of being.
So Jezebel said, can't remember who said it in what life, but ever since the Five of Wands to me is just called stupid tent, as it's 5 leaders trying to raise a tent and absolutely not working together.
That's a good example.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna start saying that. I'm not just
This is all else river.
And
It's a
the
catchphrase.
Krypton Factor was a British show. After John Craven's News Round, a more grown, Mensa-up version of Takeshi's. I remember Takeshi's Castle. I used to watch that as a kid or as a teenager.
I don't. We didn't have that one here.
Takeshi's Castle. That was, I think, was it in Japan or something?
I'm assuming by the name.
Bunch of people competing in this like really bizarre kind of obstacle course, whatever, and they were starting with over 100 people and then slimming it down with each competition. So by the end, you would have maybe like 10 people going up against the big boss and trying to defeat them.
Oh.
It was funny
we
in
didn't
the
have
way
that
that
one.
they do that stuff.
There was a different one where countries were competing in the early 90s or 19s. I forgot the name, but there was every country and they had different colors for the show. It was a really big thing in Europe, in the whole Europe. So
I don't know.
But I forgot the name. You haven't watched that? It's just similar, it's a competition, and they were doing sportsy stuff, and like it was interesting. Teamwork, all about teamwork.
Yeah.
So when you guys are talking about fives and like if it comes up for a client, when I say I'm new, I've done readings for friends, close friends and family members, but it's been very few. Because as I'm learning, I'm applying everything to me. So like the 5 of Wands, what I see here is like, again, I see everybody like battling with what they think is right, or, this is how I see it, and they all see it differently. So they're not finding common ground, but yet it looks like they're all, they all have something good to contribute, but until they find that common ground, it's just strife. It's conflict. And I think that card portrays it pretty good. And then in this one, I see almost like what you had said, Orsi, where they're kind of like ganging up on maybe one. They're all taking that somebody else's side, and then instead of actually, again, finding that common ground, they're not seeing the big picture. So, and it looks like maybe they might have taken a wrong side. But so for me, when I think of the 5 of Wands, it is that, am I just being single-minded? Maybe I need to look at someone else's view, find that common ground, and then maybe that energy will settle. But until then, I would think that's what I have to do, is like, okay, obviously I'm not seeing eye to eye, and it's not just about me, it's about these other people. And again, I see what you're talking about with it's not a, oh, that's it. This is, this is so important. It is something that you can take a step back and go, okay, yes, we can agree. It's either or agree to disagree, or maybe something like that. And then I see that Thoth is like, they're all the pips or whatever, like pips almost on the 5s, but they're all kind of, maybe a little negative. So that's why I only chose those 2 cards.
Okay. And I see Amy coming in from Strength Reversed. Hi. Okay, so, well, with the Five of Wands, we are with Saturn in Leo, and that card is called the Lord of Strife. So there's a lot of fiery energy going on in that card. And this is another one in the Golden Dawn deck. So this is very similar to the 4. We had those 2 hands coming together to join in that grip, and we had the 4 that crossed each other. I can't do it mirror-wise. And just like the swords, there is another one coming in the middle, kind of disrupting that whole energy. And but sometimes that disruption, I find it necessary because things don't just go smoothly all the time. At some point, stuff will boil over because there might be those mini things that we just we let them slide every once in a while, but at a certain point they will just add up, and then it just like that cauldron that you showed, it just bubbles over. And so it's kind of like I see it in the like baptized by fire in a way, so that's like the fiery energy has to come out, and at some point things have to be dealt with. And so I also like I can see a little bit of violence in that card. So here, for example, this is like neighbors arguing. So is the fence on the correct property line? Is it like an inch too much to that side or that? Is the tree hanging over? Like what kind of stuff? So like, is it worth arguing that much, taking it to those extremes, or can we just talk about this? Or like in sports, here we have the hockey game. So everyone's trying to get to that puck, and yeah, everyone wants to be the one to score the goal, and maybe forgetting about the teamwork in that moment. And it's like that rivalry that we see also with like the Five of Wands in this depiction. And in the Pagan Tarot here, so they're looking for a place where they can have their ritual, and they're all dressed in their colors according to the elements and everything. And so none of them are really agreeing. Everyone is looking in a different direction, and that way nothing will get done. So everyone, like it's time to come together and to face each other and see, okay, let's come up with a plan. Let's see what we can do with this. A need for compromise. That's what I associate with that card. And here in the Ludi Lescott, so the ropes down here make up a pentagram, and she's kind of caught in there. She's strapped down because it doesn't look like she's a vampire, but like she has been caught in this. And so the question is now, how does she get out? Can she do it on her own? Does she need help? And yeah, why is she even in there? Is that like that's a whole lot to deal with, especially if you feel very uncomfortable in the situation that you've been thrown into. And so what I like in the After Tarot, the idea of, yeah, taking a step back, reevaluating, and let's see where we are, and let's see if we can do this without actually fighting and, you know, bashing our heads in. And so this is also like the, yeah, knowing my limits and seeing if I can do things in a different way, like not avoiding the confrontation, but shifting it to a more productive kind of approach. So, and Summer is here. Hi, welcome. Okay, so those were my wands. Let's move on to the...
I like that vampire, not vampire lady, because it shows how, you know, because it's all about passion and all about getting worked up. If she just calms down for a second, she can see that it's not as, you know, difficult to get out of that trap that she ended up in. As you know, if you struggle against the ropes, you might get caught in more. But if you cool down and stop, you're like, okay, I need to do this and this, and then I'm out of that. So that's really great. I've never seen that deck, so it looks really cool.
Yeah. It's like the only thing that's really it looks like it's kind of tight is around her arms.
Yeah.
Around her wrists. But even those are kind of wrapped around the thing. So as soon as she gets out of one, the entire structure will become loose.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Okay, let's go to the pentacles.
April.
Hello. Okay. So, this is such an interesting card. This is like kind of sort of the typical Rider-Waite style right here. And what's always struck me about the Pentacles, first of all, I feel like the female energies in the 5 are the ones that struggle the most. They're the ones that are felt so much more deeply and personally. But here, they talk about lack, coming into lack and being in a place, but it's like, how did you get there? How did you get to this point? Because what I see when I see this card is I see that there is light, there is something available to you, and you're passing it up. You're not necessarily making the choice to use what's available to you. You're so stuck in your own perception. I mean, look at this. Like, she's just sitting out here. Her back is turned. There's the warm fire right there. There's a circle that's like, it's waiting, and she's turned her back on it. Again, going back to the ego. Yeah. And just needing to transcend that, needing to look at like how I'm doing it is not working. Like what I'm manifesting is directly a result of my choices, And again, to me, like I'm all about empowerment. I'm all about discovering the mindsets that I've created for myself or have been passed down to me, or maybe from past lives that I'm here to clear in this lifetime. How can I move towards the higher self? How can I move away from lack and into an abundance mindset, and what is it that I need to lay down within myself in order to do that? Because a lot of times there's pride, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it the established way. I mean, and I know this one, because I'm like, I'm like, that's the regular path. That looks boring. I think I'm just going to take my machete and go over there. And then you're bushwhacking and you come out on the trail and you realize people have gone so much farther and faster by taking that beaten path. And you're like bushwhacked and you're exhausted for hours. And so I know this one. I've done this one. And I like this one here because, it's kind of like, come on, let's go. Let's just get out of here. You don't just sit there and wallow in it. Don't just stay the way it's always been. Don't keep doing the same thing. Like that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So, but I also think the 5 of Swords can be in some ways, which is, I'm kind of contradicting myself. Is there some way that is established to you in your own paradigm, and it's very an established path, but because of who you're becoming, you need to break away from like maybe what your parents told you or what society has told you in order to go into a new way of existing and being. And that's hard. That takes a lot of bravery. So I think this card is about making a choice to be brave and do it different. Do it differently. And I just wanted to show this one here. In here, in the Tarot of Transformations, and I have all these out, I forgot to share them. It's releasing stuck energy. So again, a lot of times when we have energies or patterns in our DNA or our body that are stuck in there, or trauma, then we keep living from that trauma instead of moving into a higher resonance of ourselves. So when we release that energy, we allow ourselves to have a new incarnation of ourselves, a new manifestation of ourselves. And I think this card is always like, wow, there's a big opportunity here for you, but it's going to take a lot of bravery and a lot of honesty. I think you really have to be honest when this card comes up in a lot of ways. All the 5s.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I only have one card because I was sure that someone would, show the usual card. And yes, I do, read the feeling isolated and loss aspect of the card. And most of my cards show that, but I really like the true black because it's, like a little bag with coins falling out. And why I like this one is it's not, it's just an object, and it really depends on how you look at it. Like, did you lose all these valuables? Did someone else lose it for you? So were you handing your valuable resources over to other people and let them just do whatever they want and they lost it for you? For example, your investments, did you trust someone who said that, oh, I'm really good at this, I'm going to invest it, you invest all your money, and then they just, they were either lying or just didn't know what they want to do and they lost it. So there's a lot of people who lose their money because they trust the wrong people with it. So when this comes up in a reading, I would say inspect how and where you invest your valuable resources. It doesn't have to be money, but because we live in a 3D world, it's usually money as well. But also, what you lost, is it really valuable? Like, is it really as valuable as you think? And I'm not gonna sit here and say that losing money, for example, is an easy thing and you shouldn't worry about it because we're all made of love and light and la 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 la. No, it's yeah, it's bullshit. That's toxic positivity for you. But sometimes what we lose is not the money, it's the trust that we had in other people. So you have to be able to find what you really lost, because if you find what you lost, you can grieve and you can move forward and make better choices about investing, for example. And I love that this card can mean a whole bunch of things in a reading, really depending on what's on the table or what was the question. So yeah, that's my favorite ones. It's just so simple yet so powerful.
Yeah. Amy said, I love your thoughts, April, about the 5. And Tony, what you have always.
I mean, I have the light.
Yeah. If you can't see it, have it.
I mean, I can make it stronger.
Ooh.
I know.
So in my wizard tarot, this person is out in the cold and it looks like he's struggling to get to warmth. So, and then like the 5 of Pentacles could be like a temporary financial setback, a temporary loss. So, and I love what you said, April, about, did you miss the opportunity or why are you there? Did you choose the hard road? Can't say that I haven't, because I have. And then, or it could be maybe because Pentacles is earth for me, but it's also money, stability. So, and you are feeling a personal, a loss of some sort. So this card kind of conveys that, like, she needs comfort now, she's struggling and she just needs a little comfort, and it is temporary. Thank goodness, because the 5s are like, after listening to everything that you guys have said, I'm feeling like it is that struggle with your ego, and then realizing that it's your ego is what makes it a beautiful thing, and overcoming it. But that's all I have.
Okay. All right. So let's start with this one. So the 5 of Pentacles is also called the Lord of Material Trouble. And here we have Mercury in Taurus. And And in this one, it's a bit more simplistic. So similar to the Four of Pentacles, where it was basically minus this one. But now we have another pentacle there, and the roses are starting to lose their petals. So here we see that element of loss. And since it's with the pentacles, that is the association to money. And in this one here, the pentacles are like in the grapes or whatever he's here. So like this might also be like a bad harvest, because we see there is a storm coming in, dark clouds. It might not be ready yet, so he might be losing his harvest before he can even turn it into a profit. And that would be devastating for him. And with like the typical card, the thing that I always wonder, like, okay, you're out here in the cold, but you see the light in there. So if you just go around the building and look for the door, I'm sure they would not turn you away. So why do you choose to be out there and be like, oh, it's so cold, and oh, it's so it's like, even in the after tarot, they're still sitting out there. They got a bunch of snow on them now. There's another person coming by, and it looks like they're still not asking for help. So this like this card more than any other speaks to me about this like victim mentality. Like I said, like, do I choose to be in that? And like, what do I get out of being the victim is the question that I would ask myself. For example, here in the Ludi Lescott, she seems to be like, hey, let's go in there. And he's just like, nope. Maybe there's also that element of pride. And it's like, I don't want to go into that church. There must be a better place for help. And well, sometimes the better place, in order to find that might take a long time. Until then, you're hungry, frozen, whatever. So sometimes the first option just to get you started might not be a bad choice. And in like modern times, like here she is at the unemployment agency. We have the church out there through the window, and in her hand, like this is the protagonist here, she's holding a pentacle. And she's also holding on to her jacket. So she's not quite sure if she's supposed to hide it or not, because at the unemployment agency, at least over here, you have to tell them how much money you have in the bank, and if you need to live off of your savings, or if they can help you, whatever. Also with like finding a job, will you find something? Is there anything? Can they help you? Can they send you on a path where you can help yourself? So and with this pentacle, like the spirituality, and also with like the church window, what I associate with that is, can spirituality help us through the difficult times? And like she's asked, like, do I have to hide it? Once again, like in the other card, or like my belief system, do I have to openly say what it is, or can I just keep that to myself? Will that define me? How will other people see me? Will that take chances away from me in the workplace, for example? And so the question is, does it matter what someone believes? And also with this whole spiritual topic, like losing faith in yourself, because if you can't even reach out for help, like, do you still believe in yourself and that you are worthy of being helped and all of that? So yeah, that is a kind of tricky question. And
Maria, before you move on, can you tell me what's that tarot, that modern what? I'm really just liking that one.
This one?
Yeah.
This is the Pagan Tarot.
Oh, I'm really liking this one. Okay, I'm writing it down.
And
thanks.
I can recommend the one in the big box, because I don't
think I've seen it either.
It comes with a nice guidebook, because this one has been released ages ago by Lo Scarabeo, but the big box has a really nice guidebook.
Okay.
So yeah. So here, this is my oopsie card. So she is like, the plates are falling down and crashing, but the way that she's looking is like, oops, did I do that? No, that just happened to me. Did I? Was that me? So there's a sense of taking responsibility for your actions and the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
And with this one from the Arcus Arcanum, so here we see a couple that is not really happy. So they are left with 2 pentacles. And then there's like this guy having a scroll and telling them something. And then there's these 2 people taking stuff away. So this is like paying taxes. So like you earn so much and you think that you have that, but then you have to give a lot of that away for other stuff. And then can you make do with what you have, and how do you do that? How do you turn that into still a good situation where you can manage to pay all your bills? Or are you just going to be like, oh my God, they're taking away everything from me, I can't make ends meet, and just spiraling from there. So that's what I have on the pentacles. And now we're only left with the cups. So Carla, why don't you start with that one?
All right. So 5 of Cups. Cups to me represent my emotions. So, and it's definitely portraying sadness and grief, disappointment. And I think that if this came up in a reading for me, I would ask myself, you know, what can I do to move forward? You know, the Hidden Realms is, wow. Anyway, this one, it's almost like it's doing something to her physically. But so she's got a lot of going on. It seems like almost like her mind is in turmoil, you know. So this is really all I have for it's just these 2 decks that I'm going off of. But the Thoth Tarot, the key word is disappointment. So, and both those cards definitely portray disappointment. I'm sorry, my camera gets a little blurry sometimes. It's my phone, sucky phone, but I can definitely see that. So simple, short, sweet, and simple. Maybe not so sweet, but simple.
In the Hidden Realms, it kind of just reminded me of like the Valkyries, because she looks like that Shield Maiden again.
Yeah, it's a deck that I have not really used very much, so I thought I'd grab it out for today. And you know, I have used it like when I first got it because it was gifted to me for shadow work. I figured that if it was going to get pretty deep, and yeah, it portrays it.
Okay, so for me, the 5 of Cups is, you know, not just experiencing loss, but staying in the state of losing something and not recognizing that staying there is not going to bring back what you've lost, and it's also preventing you from moving forward. And this is a quite simple one, but I love the cups in this deck. The true black. This is just simple glasses, but you know, they're so beautiful. But also, you know, all you see is the big loss, the broken glasses everywhere. But one of them is still, you know, whole.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, but if you look at the card and you look at the loss, it's just like, I've lost everything. There's nothing left. At the end of the world feeling. Kind of a little bit over dramatized. No, that I can't say the word right now. You know what I mean?
Over
Being over
dramatized.
dramatic. Yeah, exactly. Because you're, you know, it's the ego. You're self-centered. Everything is about you and your loss.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. I mean, a part of it is okay. You know, at the first time when it happens, the first period is completely fine to, you know, grieve and feel the loss. But after a while, you're just holding yourself back, or other people, because I love that the Mermaid Tarot has 2 friends. I think that's the description. It's 2 friends and who are, the girl has to let go of the seal because the seal can't live on the land. And it's a hard decision because, they are friends and they love each other. But if she really loves the other person, or in this case, the seal, she has to let the seal go back to its natural element because, you can't force someone to stay with you just because you love them, because that's not true love. And in a love reading, that can tell volumes. The Neo Moon has an interesting one because I don't know if you can read it, but this one says you lose, well, or you're lost, you lose, and then three um, energy drinks. But then we have two here is the continue with, and I kind of read it as a, what April said, with the different cards, but repeating something and expecting a different result. Are you still just trying to play the same game, not learning from it, and just using everything you have because you think that this time I'm gonna get it right, this time it's gonna turn out differently, and it kind of gives that because it has that computer game kind of feeling, getting stuck in that cycle. I really like that one. And the mystical medleys has an interesting one because it's kind of like what do you see, beings too self-absorbed, only looking at you and your loss, and not being able to recognize that, hey, there's still a castle that you can actually reach, even though you lost what you've lost, you still have access to more if you decide to just take it away and stop looking only at yourself and look at the world, and allow your pain to just, I'm not saying forget, because that's we all know that is not what we meant to say, or I just want to be clear. Experiencing a loss and recognizing it is not the same as staying in, or moving forward is not the same as completely forgetting the loss. Because sometimes you're stuck in the pain because you think that if you let go of the pain, you forget, or you let go of that what you've lost. And it's a hard lesson, or it's difficult to recognize that you can think back at what you've lost with love and appreciating that you lost it, but not holding on to the pain as well. So yeah, those are my
Yeah.
5 of Cups.
Lisa said, just listening to what you're all saying, I'm feeling there's a sense of vulnerability in all the fives.
Yeah.
Yep.
For me, the biggest takeaway was the ego, because I never really put that together, but I was like, that makes sense.
Well, I'm going to use a bunch of good old phrases here, and I hope you Europeans have them so that you can relate. First of all, it's my party and I'll cry if I want to. Now, that's an American song. But, here she is, and it's just like, this just all she can see. Like, look at, there's the balloons are up there and everything's just right there. It's waiting for her. It's just, she's just got to change her view on what's going on. And so, the biggest thing, oh, I'm hearing myself echo. Is anybody else hearing that?
No.
Okay.
I can hear it.
You can hear it? And I'm
but
on
it's a little echo for me. It's not that, annoying.
Okay. All right. So, that's the first thing, is that I feel like it's that this is my life and this is happening to me and it's very real and I'm going to be very upset about it. And so, sometimes we feel like we're entitled to be upset. And so sometimes I think that can happen with this comes up. And, I have this one from Tarot of the Holy Light. This is one of my all-time favorite decks. And, my cup runneth over. It's like the universe is trying to pour through so much to us, and you can see it's knocking the other cups over. And so understanding that when this card comes up for me, that I'm experiencing a lot of emotion. And I think it's really important for me to acknowledge that, like Orshi, like you were saying, it's important to acknowledge emotions and not to pretend that they're not happening, like not spiritually bypass that. But there comes a certain point where we need to let go. And so a lot of times I'll ask my clients, is there something that you need to acknowledge and allow yourself to grieve, because I really feel that grief is something that we don't have a map for really to navigate so well. And we don't have a lot of modeling, and we don't have a society, especially in the US, I can't speak for Europe, that really honors grief. So I think it's important to honor your need to grieve, but then, like you were saying, Orshi, it's like, and at that point, that helps you to take the emotion and to transmute it, because it could be linked to a trauma or a situation, or it's a loss that you're feeling. So there's lack within you. And whenever we have a sense of lack, we have a vacuum. We have a space in us that's opened up that creates a vacuum. And it can feel really overwhelming when everything is trying to push through us. So by acknowledging our grief, we're grabbing onto what we actually have and know about a situation, and we allow ourselves to really feel that and live that, and then work through those energies so that we can move forward. I like this one because here she's actually, like, to me, it reminds me of something from the Bible, which is to be poured out as a drink offering. And so this idea that our emotion is poured out into our lives as an offering that waters the rest of our life. But again, like Orshi, like you were saying, not getting stuck there. Like, water moves through things. And it's important with emotion not to grab onto it and try to make it something concrete. And again, all of these cards are about our need to control and to understand and exert control in healthy ways in our lives. So if we're holding on to emotion, then we're going to be sitting in stagnant water, and it's going to come putrid to us and everyone around, because nobody likes a crybaby or a victim. Sorry. I mean, I'm like, suck it up, man. Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. After you've done the appropriate work. And then this one here is natural intimacy. And the result of that is moving into understanding that emotions ebb and flow, and understanding that our vulnerability and our grief actually helps us to connect in intimate ways to the people around us. Because if you've never experienced adversity, it's, you kind of live on a place that nobody can relate to. And I think it creates intimacy when we move through this card and we actually make the choice to allow our emotions to float us. Or in this case, we turn around and we realize that we have these other cups to drink from. Once we're done with this, life is still prepared for us what we need. And this is healthy emotion that we have waiting for us when we turn and go the other way and make a choice to be and do something, do life differently, feel life differently. We can feel differently. And it doesn't invalidate, like you were saying, Orshi, it doesn't invalidate that experience or make it less valuable. It actually gives it healthy value, and we can move forward with that value.
Jonathan came in and he says he's just getting his day started. Hello, Jonathan. Aloha. Okay, so now with the last one. So the Five of Cups, going back to the beginning. So here we have the Lord of Loss and Pleasure. And this is Mars in Scorpio. And here we see that, like in the 4, we saw that the water was coming out of the flowers and filling the cups. But now the heat of the Mars in Scorpio has completely evaporated that water, and there's nothing in it. Like, the cups are completely dry here. So that energy has just taken that away. And in the more modern version, there's also the flower here, or the stem with the flowers, but there's nothing coming out. They're kind of dried up and shriveled and stuff. And so there's nothing to fill the cups with anymore. But, and even the vegetation in the back is really dried out and everything. But there are these clouds up here. So it's not completely lost. It is going to rain again. And there will be more water. But, of course, when you just look at what you don't have anymore, you can't really see that. And you don't have anything to look forward to. And so we all know the traditional one. But with this one, I kind of like the Before Tarot, because here we have a cup that is being knocked over by a cat. So the question that we probably don't ask or see when we have this cup is, how did these even get knocked over in the first place? Like, did we do that? Did someone else do that? So that's an interesting question for me. And also, like, yeah, the Five of Cups card can sometimes be the drama with a capital D, like the big, like here, for example, in the Ludi Lescott, there's 3 of them still standing. There's even one standing down here, and nothing happened. It's just one knocked over. So there's no need for like breaking down that much, because you still have 4 cups standing there. So just maybe share whatever water is in them, pour it in the other one, and then you're still good to go. So it's not the end of the world. And so for me, the Five of Cups is also like being preoccupied and not really seeing the positive thing that can happen from this. And with this, like not really seeing what's what. So here we have 3 empty cups on the table, but there's still 2 full cups in the background, and the couple seems to have been arguing about everything that they don't have instead of being grateful what they still do have. And the same with this one. So our witch, she is just really concerned with everything that she lost and what's spilled out, and there's someone offering her new water, new cups, and she just can't see it because she's not paying attention to that. So for me, this card is always like, where do I shift my focus to? And it's like this crying over spilled milk. So for me, that card, like when I'm the kind of person, I don't like to focus on the problem. I want to focus on the solution, and I don't want to spend any time with the problem. Like, and it seems to me that card is just really, oh, there's a problem, let's just dwell on that. Or even here in the kitchen. So yeah, 3 of them are broken, and that might be really terrible. Maybe they were handed down from grandma, and it really sucks, but there's still 2 of them left. You can still have company with just 2 of them. So, and maybe you can buy other ones like that. And something that I find very interesting in this one is the 5 glasses of wine are all still full. None of them are empty. But she's still kind of like, okay, so what do I do now? So the way that I see this card is like stuck between a rock and a hard place. So do I choose the lesser of 2 evils? Like, which direction do I go? Do I go with the majority? Do I go with the minority? Like, where does my heart feel more at home in a sense? So like, how do you even make that choice? So, and this being a cups energy, so I would say make that decision coming from your heart, not with your head.
I love that one, Maria, really quickly. I love that one because again, it's that prime number, that 5. It's, you know, and when we're in even numbers, we've got a sense of balance where we can divide by 2 and everything's equal and feels very metered for us. But in the 5s, it's not metered for us. It's really, again, about, and I think this is a great card that totally illustrates that place of choice and deciding, like you said, from your heart, what is me, because this is about moving into our own personal power, but our own integrity of what we know about ourselves. So choosing from that integrity and not ideas about who we are or what other people say. I love that card. It's really cool.
Yeah. And so for me, the lesson in this is to not let the sadness take over and still move on with your life, because those moments will come all throughout our lives. It will be in different variations. Some will be really terrible. Some might not be as bad. And yeah, and also, since this is, no, you're staying down. Since this is the cups and the hearts, emotional stuff, and some, depending on what the other cards around it are, I also find a sense of betrayal in that, or feeling betrayed with this. Like even with the cat, like I told you to stay away, and yet you came here and knocked one of my cups over. So why did you do that? And that cat can also be like a human, like you trusted someone with something, and then they didn't do that, or they didn't fulfill your expectations in a certain way. So you feel betrayed, and you have all kinds of feelings about that, and that's really sad, and all of that. So I see an element of that in the card as well. And the challenge, like if I get the Five of Cups in a reading, for me is to make a commitment to the future, to not stay in the present or like wallow in the past of what just happened, but to commit to a future and move on from there and make it better. So that's what I have for that. Let's see.
Yeah, one thing that I forgot to say about the connecting to the grief is sometimes, you know, we think that we were the only one who lost whatever we're talking about, and sometimes we're selfish with that because we think that we are the only ones who's grieving, and not seeing that the other person or other people are grieving as well, and that can be something that, you know, like you can reach out, or you know, just don't be selfish because you're not the only one who lost whatever we're talking about. So the ego
I actually,
again.
yeah, I had a moment like that when I turned that into the complete opposite. Like when my grandma died, who was one of the most important people in my life, and I had just turned 20 at that time. And we were in the hospital when it happened because the doctors called us in and said it's going to happen. So we got to say our goodbyes. And I completely broke down in that moment. And my mom, who had just lost her mother, she was there to comfort me. And in that moment, when I was like completely losing myself, I realized, wait a minute, I lost my grandma, but she lost her mom. So maybe I should take a step back. Yes, I'm grieving, but I can't let my mom not grieve by taking so much care of me right now. So, but I did it to the extreme end where I didn't let her see my grief at all. And I just gave her the time and space, and her brother as well, to do all of that. And I kept mine bottled inside, which is why even 20 years after the fact, it still hits me very hard sometimes, because I never really found that balance in myself to deal with that.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. So, you know, talking about it is easy, but actually experiencing all of it, there's a lot of times when I know what I should do, you know, when I know that what I'm seeing in the cards is what I'm supposed to do, but it's very hard because, especially with the cups, it's about emotions, and I'm the avoidant type, you know, like emotions, oh, put them away. Let's just think about stuff because, you know, it's more easier. So yeah, I can understand.
Well, that's so beautiful, Maria, what you'd said. You know, I think that you were realizing something really important in that moment. And yet you didn't have that temperance aspect of the 5 yet. You weren't able to balance that or see how you could balance that. And it's because you were young, but my goodness, if at 20 you could, you know, realize that somebody else was important in a moment that's so intense, you know, I just want to honor that, because I do think that that's actually a beautiful sign of maturity. And, you know, and now you have that chance to do those things now, I suppose. But grief is forever. I mean, my grandmother, it's been, oh my gosh, 30 years, 32 years. I'm still sad about it at times. You know, we just keep working through that loss and that sadness.
Yeah, there's one song, when that one comes on, I just lose it completely. It's a Christina Aguilera song, Hurt, even though it's like about her father and the whole situation. But the lyrics, like even asking, are you proud of me? Like, do you like the person that I turned into watching me from above? Like, oh, I can't with that one. Yeah. Okay. Getting out of that cups now.
Yeah, 5 of Cups.
Yeah. When it hits hard.
Yeah, my cup runneth over.
Mm-hmm.
But
And the
you know,
the tears have to come out, at that point. It's like you need to do that. Like tears are so precious for
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
There's actually a lot of biological science behind crying
Mhm.
that's
yeah.
very powerful.
Yeah. And
And that's the not minimalizing the loss as
Yeah.
well, because it's however many years, and sometimes it just punch you in the face, then you break down and you cry for like 5 minutes because you just feel a lot. And I had something similar recently as well, like last week. My grandma, one of them, which wasn't even my real grandma, it was my great aunt, my grandma's sister. And I don't know, I was just sitting in this couch, and suddenly I was thinking about her and what she went through, and I'm just like bawling my eyes up because it's just horrible sometimes. So, emotions are fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we're doing this to ourselves as human beings, like having emotions and stuff like that. But
Yeah. I think out of all the experiences we could have picked, the human ones is the most difficult.
yeah,
But I
exactly.
love tarot because of this is therapy. This is like
Yes.
therapy. And then getting your guys's viewpoint is like, then I'll be like, oh, yes, okay. I can see that. I can relate to that. And it opens it up from just my narrow view to a bigger view. And then, I'm applying that. So it's like once I've gotten through all of this series, I feel like maybe then I might be ready to give somebody a reading, because I want to feel it. I want to feel it because then I'll be like, oh, let me tell you about this card right here.
Mm.
I love that about the tarot. I feel like it's a body of knowledge that so many people have placed their consciousness into, that you can tap into the web of that consciousness and pull out so much from it, which is why, I love Oracle decks, you guys. I'm a total Oracle fan, but they're very new and they don't have a huge web of consciousness attached to them. And there's been such an evolution and so many people for so long who have tapped into this web and contributed to it, that it's such a powerful tool to exercise.
Yeah.
I
And
love
that's
you.
what I also love about our series, especially
I
that
received that.
each one of us, we have such different decks, and also the fact that we, even through the mainstream, have these many decks to choose from, and seeing how the depiction of just one card can be so different, and that there's so many different thoughts, that so many different directions they can take in a reading. I really love that.
Me too.
Same. And I was so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, because I learned a lot, by talking about these cards. So
yeah, Tony said, I don't think you need to feel it always. Experience feeds us in different ways. Some rewire our brains. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like, was it like every 7 years our taste changes? So, I mean, there's a lot of rewiring going on.
our whole body, all
Yeah.
our cells are changed. We're a new person. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's it for episode 5 and all the 5s in the tarot. Next time we will be on Amy's channel from Strength Reverse. She's going to host the 6s, and that will be on the 16th of July. So check out Amy's channel. Also, if you're not subscribed to any of the lovely ladies here with me, the links are in the descriptions. Please go and subscribe. And to everyone who joined us in the chat, thank you so much. And also for giving us your comments and thoughts. And well, ladies, I really had a good time. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope that we can do this again sometime.
definitely.
Me too.
So everyone, have a good weekend and see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.